but also let's talk about the Doku challenge in the 8th minute of added time when he was involved again. No penalty there. So the goal scoring might have been finished, but it could have had another couple of goals depending on circumstances. What did you make of both of those moments of the game near the end?
Well, it's funny because we've pointed out all of City's shortcomings, and it was interesting. I mean, it completely made sense to bring Doku on, right, against tired legs and whatever, which, by the way, I heard Janusz wonder why Gakpo was on. I can only assume that's the thinking. For me, if I were a Liverpool fan, the less I see of Gakpo right now, the better. But funny enough, Doku came on for Alvarez, who I thought actually maybe had the best game out of City's front five. Obviously, that shows you that when you got the individual match winners, you can do things, and Doku can be an individual match winner. We could just as easily, question De Bruyne going off and whatever. If that goes in, then we're telling a different story, and City are, on their own at the top of the Premier League. That said, for me at the end, that's a penalty. That's a pretty stonewall penalty. Sorry?
Yeah, no, I agree.
I'm not going to blame Brian Oliver.
Michael
VAR,
Oliver.
Sorry?
Michael Oliver, not Brian Oliver.
Michael Oliver. Good point. I'm not going to blame Michael.
Brian Oliver's sitting watching this, goes, I've done nothing wrong.
Exactly. Either one. I think it's one of those very typical things where the VAR looks at it and says, okay, well, Michael must have thought that he was going for the ball and must have thought that he didn't leave his boot in. And so therefore he doesn't need to look at it. He saw it clearly, and we don't want to be re-refereeing games, right? It's not as if Oliver didn't see it. Might he have changed his mind if he'd seen it? I don't know. I think this is kind of like the new frontier of what people are going to talk about with VAR, because if I'm sitting in that VAR booth and Oliver tells you, yeah, I saw it clearly, then I can't go and say, well, you missed something, because you didn't miss anything, right?
Yeah.
Equally, I think I would like to think that if he sees it again, he may well change his mind. So I think we need to decide, we don't want to have re-refereeing, but equally, if the same guy looks at it again, would he stick to his original decision? I suspect he wouldn't.
Janusz, I think that brings up a really good point here, because what is getting lost with VAR is that there are constant discussions. That's why they're all wired up and they're in each other's ears. So the VAR is basically saying to the referee, what did you see? Now, if the referee basically says, this is what I thought I saw, it's up to VAR to say, well, that isn't what happened. We think there might be an error here. Something else might have happened, and it could be a clear and obvious error. If that is given as a penalty, it's not getting overturned. That penalty would stay. So Gab's right. You've got to be careful here that we don't re-referee the game. Should that have been a penalty?
Oh, well, sorry. On this point, just want to make it very clear. I'm not saying we have to be careful. The rules right now, especially in England, make it very clear, we don't want to re-referee, right? So I'm going to give the VAR the benefit of the doubt, say he's being careful. For me, I think certain decisions are so big that if I'm pretty confident the referee would give it, and we've seen others like this recently, I don't really have a problem with re-refereeing. We're just giving the referee more information to make that decision. I mean, that's a decision way above my head. That's an IFAB decision or whatever. And I obviously don't want to see it. And I know that, we wouldn't want to have 50 incidents like this in a game. But by the same token, we're talking in a split second. What is one of the top 2 referees in England? Did he see it correctly, or did I in the VAR booth see it differently? I just want to specify that. It's not me saying it. That's kind of what the rules are right now, and I presume this is why the VAR didn't send him back.
Yeah, I think, Gab, you're right. It's because we don't know the conversations, and maybe Oliver said, yes, I saw it, but how clearly did you see it? Look, for me, the problem is that, for me, a foul is a foul. And again, this is a dangerous play anywhere. It's a foul. it's a foul. But if it happens in the penalty area, then it has to be a penalty kick, right? I mean, you can't tell me that you bring your leg this high with studs, and even if you get piece of the ball, but you get you get it, neck high pretty much, that you don't call this a foul, and that's an issue. That's what I wouldn't want to re-referee the game, but even if Oliver have told me, I've seen it, and I've seen him maybe touch the ball slightly, whatever his explanation might have been, I still think that would have been wise in some situations to have a look at the monitor here or there, because it's a dangerous play, and that is a foul anywhere on the pitch.
Yep.
And for that reason, for me, it's a penalty.
And that's why, as you both have, I think quite rightly have said, look, for the extra 30 seconds, for the extra 60 seconds, if the VAR official is adamant that he thinks it's worth the referee having another look, the bottom line is, you've got to remember this as well, it's up to the referee. The referee can be advised to come and have a look, and then he'd come and have a look, but it's still up to him to say, nope, not for me. Right. So for the extra 30 seconds is fine. The problem that we have here, and yes, it's probably a penalty and should have been given, but it hasn't been. We will see that incident replicated, not exactly, but we'll see a penalty given. Then we'll see one not given. Then we'll see a referee come over and maybe give it. Then we'll see a referee come over and maybe not given it. This is what the fans are frustrated about right now, but this is the difficulty we have, Gab, with subjective decisions.
Yeah, look, I think there's a perfect world at some point in the future where VARs aren't going to be top flight referees. They're going to be referees who are very good at being VARs because they see everything and whatever. Maybe I think this is the direction that they're going in. Maybe just have a separate career for VARs. Maybe guys who get as far as League One, and maybe they're not good in talking to players or whatever, but they see everything very clearly and they're quick with a screen. And then maybe there's a future where, and I think this is important, in the same way that, a lot of times you see referees always working with the same assistant referees. They always work with the same VAR because the VAR knows the referee, and there's an element of trust there between the two of them, right? Instead, we've run into all sorts of problems here in the Premier League, but also elsewhere where, maybe you have a very inexperienced VAR and the referee on the pitch is a decorated international referee, and maybe that plays into it. I don't want to contradict them, whatever else, if he tells me he saw it. We can't have this. The problem is we're not there yet. We're not at this moment in time where there's a big enough pool of experienced VARs that we can even assign them so that they always work with a certain referee in games. The guy from I'm blanking on his name now, but I'm sure you remind me from the Nottingham Forest, the guy who's unfamiliar with the drop ball rule last week, right? Was it Kavanagh or I don't want to pick with Tierney, was it?
Paul Tierney.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on Tierney. But look, he's in the VAR booth on Saturday night. Well, gee, I hope, if he was there for the Arsenal-Brentford game, he didn't do any damage, but, I hope he took the time to read his manual in the meantime. Yeah. Is he a referee? Is he a VAR? They're two different things, right? They're two different roles, I think. We just haven't had enough time to build up a cohort of VARs who I think can do that and who can always work as a team with the referees the way we do with assistant referees. Like, nobody, not even the saddest of losers, grows up thinking, ooh, I really want to be an assistant referee. No, all assistant referees were referees. They hit a ceiling, they hit a certain level, and then they became assistants, right? And it should be the same thing with VARs, and it will be, I think, eventually.
I agree with you in general on almost everything you said, and I'm going to pick on something which you don't probably mean, but because you said there may be a perfection one day, I don't think it's going to happen. It's impossible. It's
a better situation than we have now. Not perfection.
It's subjective because part of me, like I said, to me, foul is a foul. That's a dangerous play, no matter how you slice it. It's just the fact that maybe he touches the ball, it, to me, makes zero difference. I mean, that foot shouldn't be that high with such showing. I mean, that's a dangerous play, right? Anywhere on the pitches. So we've established that. Part of it, because I don't know if I put this on VAR, because we don't know. VAR might have said, Michael, just maybe have a look at this. And I don't know, maybe Oliver said, no, I've seen it. That's it, right?
He's not allowed to say no. I mean,
but because we don't. No, we say that because we don't know what's allowed or not. We sometimes don't know all these conversations, right? It could be a situation. We're on YouTube, right? It's that, it's 98th minute, and maybe they just didn't have the balls to decide the game on a play like this. I mean, it could be that, because part of me always kind of thinks that in a game like this, if you're not being biased, if you're not on one side or the other, you kind of say, well, was there force? Was there this? This has to go through heads of everybody. We can say it shouldn't, and it probably shouldn't. But as I said, before we even get to her, it's a foul. But I bet you that went through the minds of everybody. There'd be no admission, but that's just the way we operate.
I think the bottom line here is, and I want to wrap this up because you could easily talk for hours about this, which we will not be doing. If it's in the other box, are Manchester City fans wanting a penalty for that? Pretty much 100% of them are. So there's that hypocrisy. Oh, it was never a penalty. It was never. But if it was the other end, would it have been for you? Of course it was. That's us. That's football fans. That's what we do. If you've got a red and white scarf on, you think it was. If you've got a blue and white scarf on, you think it wasn't.